are some intangibles that those projections failed to take into consideration.
The crowd was going crazy. There's not much in life that's better than that.
You're listening to Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys on the 95.7 The Game Podcast Network. He's only 21 years old. He's the second youngest position player now in the big leagues, but he's been so hot, he earned his way up here. When Haniger got hurt, he grounds out one into left field, base hit. And Matos, in his very first at-bat, has a big league knock.
He was pretty excited about it, too. He got the hit, and he started clapping right away.
It was a great major league debut, and then he got introduced to Giants baseball. Well, welcome. We hit for you in your first game, being playful, of course, but yeah, really nice job to stay calm and deliver for us in his first major league game.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Sam Lubman here, as always, with Joe Shasky. And this is episode 61 of the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. 61, Shasky. Did you know that Luis Matos struck out 61 times at the single A level in 2021?
I thought you were going to go Livan Hernandez wore number 61.
Well, that was the other avenue I could go with as well. But yeah, 61 obviously, of course, is Livan Hernandez. And I'll be honest, the reason I didn't go with 61 with Livan Hernandez at 61, Shasky, is because I was never a big Livan Hernandez fan. I remember he led the league in losses in 2000, was not a fan of that. But obviously, I always remember Game 7 when I think of Livan Hernandez and how he didn't quite come through for the Giants. And I never really liked that he started that game, and I was very quick to move off of Livan Hernandez when he left the Giants. So
until that point, he had been something like 11-1 in the postseason.
He actually nails in the postseason. I later learned. Of course, he did have that Game 4 against the Braves in the division series. His finest moment as a Giant. Unfortunately, we needed one more fine moment from him, but a fine moment from Luis Matos yesterday, getting his first big league hit in the second pitch he saw. And we've talked about this a lot on the morning roast, Shasky, the excitement of Luis Matos's debut. What has you super excited about Luis Matos right now?
Well, I mean, it's not just one guy now. It's not just Bailey. It's not just Schmidt. It's now a wave. Like you hear about this when 4 or 5 years ago, it's about a wave of prospects coming through. Luis Matos being 21 years old, second youngest position player in baseball, to the guy Jordan Walker, who's on the other team, who, the Cardinals yesterday playing left field. I thought it was pretty special. First time I can remember being this excited about an outfielder for the Giants in like forever, like Darren Lewis style, Chili Davis style. Like that's how long it's been for most Giants fans. So I'm really excited. And then he gets a hit in his first at bat, and then he gets, pinch hit for in true Giants fashion, like Gabe Kapler said. But you know what? Like all in all, what a great day. And hopefully this is the first of thousands of hits. Like truly.
Yeah, no, the palpable excitement around Matos, I think, does stem from the fact that, he has legitimate, this guy could be the dude kind of potential. Like Casey Schmidt, a fine baseball player. I like Casey Schmidt a lot. Definitely think he's a part of the Giants' future. But I never look at Casey Schmidt like, oh, yeah, here we go. The dude is here. Like when Buster Posey arrived, it's like, oh, yeah, this guy, he's going to be a fixture in this lineup. They're going to build around this guy. I never really saw Casey Schmidt as that type. He's still a great player. He's just not the player. Patrick Bailey, kind of a similar thing. He's a guy. He's not the guy. Luis Matos, he's the first guy to arrive where it's just like, he could be that guy.
Well, could he be your Ronald Acuna? Could he be your Julio Rodriguez? I mean, those guys are phenoms, superstars. At this point, bro, I'll take being close to James Outman for the Dodgers, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're looking for as you talk about the Dodgers. They're going to face him in a little bit, and it'll be awesome for the young man to get himself acclimated. But I think the fact that he is a plus power, plus contact, plus speed, plus defense type of a player, I mean, dare I say, one of the highest prospects to come out of the outfield since Willie Mays, Bobby Bonds. Like, seriously.
I mean, I think the Chili Davis one's a good one. I mean, the Giants have had so many just flops in the outfield over the last few years. I mean, you can, rattle off such a long, illustrious list from Todd Linden to Dan Ortmeyer. Nate Scherholtz had a minute. There was a time where we thought Jarrett Parker would be the guy. Lance Niekro was another one. The tragedy of Mac Williamson. So I'm excited for it. I don't want to get too overly excited though, just because I don't want to work myself up. But I want to believe this is going to be a different situation with Matos. I mean, the streak of flopping with outfielders in the draft has to end at some point. And why not with Luis Matos? Because he has everything that this organization needs to be a guy who they can build around.
It feels like they've done such a great job developing pitchers and infielders. Boy, if they could just hit on one of these outfielders, just one. Sam, wouldn't it be awesome? Just one.
I mean, the cachet that Farhan would have if he could say, hey, I snapped that outfielder in the All-Star game streak. I mean, that's something that multiple general managers and multiple managers over long periods of time. What, Chili Davis, when was his last All-Star appearance? Was like 86, 87, something like that?
87, yeah.
Yeah, so you're looking at 35-ish years since, like Ronald Reagan was in with the White House the last time the Giants had a homegrown outfielder. And so it feels like, they have potential to finally have a guy. And again, it's one game. I'm not crowning Luis Matos.
No, but he's highly rated
after one game. But the hope, the feel is there. And it's going to be exciting to watch him throughout the rest of the season because, again, the wave of young guys we have, we're seeing on the Giants right now. 8 guys have made their debuts with the team this year. And a lot of these guys look like they're guys that are going to stick around for a long time. Luis Matos could be leading that way. It's just a very exciting time to be a Giants fan watching these guys come up. It's also an exciting time because the Giants are 4 games above 500, which is a season high. They just swept the Cardinals in St. Louis. When's the last time you could say that happened? They were 6-1 against the Cardinals this year, which I don't care how bad the Cardinals are. Considering I always consider, like, if the Dodgers are the number 1 rival to the Giants, I always have the Cardinals at number 2 because they've always just longtime organizations that have been just butting heads for so long.
In the playoffs.
So much nastiness in that rivalry. Great playoff series.
02, 87. 2014.
2014. Oh, yeah. The Cardinals and Cowbells, Jeff Leonard. There's the fight that Will Clark and Ozzie Smith had.
Kenny
I think
Lofton
that
up
was
the middle.
88. Like, wins over bad teams still count. Wins over your rivals when they're bad still count. Beating the Cardinals 6 out of 7 times in the season, that still feels really good. So,
and Yastrzemski coming through to complete the sweep, tying the game up when it was down to 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 9th inning. That was pretty special. And then seeing Camilo Duvall go up against 2 of the top 8. If I was putting together a lineup of 8 guys, everyday lineup of Giants killers.
Oh, yeah.
2 of the top 8 all time. Arenado, Goldschmidt, Duvall, Kazem, back to back. Are you kidding me?
I mean, that's an ultimate smiting of the dragon. And then you have to smite the next dragon after that. Those 2 guys are literally built to make Giants fans miserable. And Camilo Duvall is like, nah, that's not a big deal. And this excitement all feels like it's surrounding a team that maybe they could be a playoff team right now. They are 2 games up on having a playoff spot. They currently hold that 6th and final playoff spot. 2 games up on the next team. I think it's the Marlins right now are the first team out right now. Shasky, I mean, does this feel like a playoff team right now?
There's a long way to go. We're not even halfway through the season. They're in the mix, and that's more than I expected. They're way farther along organizationally, in my mind, than they were at the beginning of the year. Forget the record. Record be damned. Schmidt, Bailey's been a revelation. Bailey, I think, has thrown his name into the hat for Rookie of the Year. That's number 1. Duvall, Logan Webb, what a great contract to sign him on. It's looking better and better every single start. And then seeing Luis Matos, this feels like the organization and the tide is turning. But in terms of this season, let's just sit in the inner tube and see where it goes. It's an inner tube season.
Yeah.
Like, let's let the current take us down the river. And maybe when we get to the playoffs, we fall a little short, but all these guys develop. I'll be cool with that. Maybe some of these guys struggle, some of these guys develop, and they make the playoffs. I'm cool with that too. Like, I just want to see the young guys go. And if we win games, great.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. I kind of agree with you there. But just looking at the way this team is built right now, the way they're playing right now, Shasky, prior to last week, before they went to Colorado, they were 1-25 in games in which they were trailing in the 7th inning or later. In their last 8 games, 4 times they've come back after trailing in the 7th inning or later. They're fine. Like, I think it's no coincidence that you're seeing that happening right when the lineup gets healthy. Because again, we all know, what do the Giants love to do? Play the matchups. We like to joke about the line changes that they do late in the games. but it's not just a joke. They do that for a reason because they want to switch out their guys and start getting those matchups on the opposing team's bullpens. That's something they're really good at. That's something they're really good at, making other teams miserable when they do that.
But if we're going to have a serious conversation about them being playoff contenders, they're 2 arms short in the rotation.
Yes.
And that's going to suffocate their bullpen at some point. I'm really worried about their bullpen. They look great right now, but they're going to be using up a lot of oxygen over the next couple of weeks if they're going to continue to trot out the openers. It's a law of averages. You're flirting with it.
I agree with you there. And I think that kind of ties into a conversation that they're going to eventually have to have regarding Sean Manaea. We talked about him on the last episode that we did, where he's been great doing that bulk roll out of the bullpen. He says he's not really doing a whole lot different. There's a little bit some differences in his prep. But for the most part, like he's holding hitters to 187 in his 6 appearances out of the bullpen. He's been absolutely dealing. And at some point, the Giants are going to have to figure out whether or not they would want to put him back in the rotation, because the Brebbia Manaea 1-2 punch in the bullpen, like, yeah, it does work. Brebbia does a great job as an opener. It's not, I don't think it's something you can really sustain going forward, because again, like, yeah, you are going to need that bullpen. The Giants bullpen has become absolutely rock solid, and to overtax them by having all these bullpen games, I mean, it works now, but there's 5 starting pitchers on a team for a reason, Shasky. It's because you need 5 starting pitchers. When you're going with the bullpen games, 1 or 2 times a week, that will eventually start to catch up to you. And the whole point of, why they got so many arms this offseason was to avoid those bullpen games. So if this is to be a playoff team, number one, you got to fix the starting rotation. You got to get more arms in there. I'm all in on Logan Webb. You've heard me how I go off on how I think he should be an all-star. I'll keep beating that drum no matter how, how not likely it's going to happen. But Alex Cobb, hopefully he can keep it up all year long. I don't know if he'll be an all-star pitcher throughout the entire season. Anthony DeSclafani is a coin flip right now every time he takes the mound. It depends on whether he's getting that slider working or not. Alex Wood is kind of right
but this
now.
This is where I think they need to be really shrewd, and they got to think about getting an arm under team control for next year, right? Like, you want to get a guy right now. I would try to jump the line and go get Shane Bieber. And because your prospects feel very good right now across the board, maybe there's 1 or 2 that you can sell that you couldn't have sold last year. And because the entire organizational farm feels different, because that's what teams say when they want to strike a deal. Do I like your farm as a whole? Not do I like that guy or that guy or that guy. Do I like your farm as a whole? I feel like baseball is starting to recognize their farm as a whole looks a hell of a lot better this year than last year. So maybe somebody bites.
Yeah, and again, around baseball, people know what Farhan Zaidi has a lot of, I don't know if clout's the right word, but he has a lot of respect within the baseball community. You ask anyone, oh yeah, you got a smart guy there. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to develop talent. He knows how to find talent. People know that you can get good deals or you can find good players when you talk to Farhan. And so, yeah, it will be interesting to see just kind of how that does impact with the trade deadline. I don't know if you need to maybe break the bank for a major starting pitcher, depending on just kind of what the asking price is for pitching at the trade deadline. Like, I would be kind of cautious about giving too much up for like a Marcus Stroman.
Yes.
I remember when they got Chris Bryant a couple years ago, I think they traded like their 7th and 15th ranked prospects. And I don't know, I don't have the top 20 in front of me right now, but if you can get something similar like that for a Marcus Stroman or a Shane Bieber, someone who will help you this year and next year, I would totally be okay with that, because when you look up and down the rest of this roster, again, you got a bullpen that right now makes these games basically 6 innings long.
Yes.
You can throw like a Luke Jackson, or if you can get John Brebbia out of that opener role, get him late in the game. And then you get the Rogers brothers leading into Camilo Doval. You could shorten this game very quickly if you're the Giants. And you have a lineup that, again, is capable of coming back late in games. Like, now we're seeing it. The way they handle these matchups on any given night, that was a big part of 2021, was the comeback win. I'm not saying that you could just rely on comeback wins, but you have a lineup that can, at any time, figure out a way to come back into this game. The top of this lineup, I'm very big on. I love having Lamont Wade Jr. and Tyler Estrada up there in the 1-2 spots. Love to see Luis Matos getting in there. JD Davis, when he comes back, kind of holding things down the 3-4 spots. This lineup, it can get things going early.
I agree with
get
that.
things going late. When you have a great bullpen, you're just missing that third part of the triarchy, which is, getting that starting rotation settled in. And maybe it's Kyle Harrison.
I know. Well, maybe it is. It's asking a lot. The guy's barely gone through 5 innings, in the minors, and I know they're trying to stretch him out per se. Look, they need a proven MLB veteran to me, and then Kyle Harrison slots in as your 3, 4, 5, as opposed to your 1, 2. Right? That's hopefully is what you're looking for, depending on how much more sustainable the Alex Cobb starts are. So I'm with you. Like the team looks very promising right now. Look around baseball. There are some surprises. I mean, we just talked about the Cardinals being terrible. Who has the Marlins competing for a playoff spot? I didn't. And yet you look up and here they are. And I feel like the Giants are in the mix with the Marlins, excuse me.
Yeah, who saw that coming? I think that's the thing
Right?
that kind of is in the Giants' favor right now, is that when you do look around the National League, I mean, obviously the Diamondbacks are setting the standard in the National League West right now. The Dodgers are also going to make the playoffs. So that's 2 slots right there.
Mm-hmm.
Got division winners in the Central and the East. So basically you have 2 wild card spots that you're playing for right now. Whoever comes in second in the NL East, they're probably get one of those wild card spots, whether it's, the Marlins, maybe, the Phillies get back into things. I don't think the Mets are getting back into things. But outside of that, I mean, your competition for that 6th and final playoff spot, it literally could come down to the Giants versus the Marlins. It could be, that could be it. Whereas, last year there was a lot of teams jostling for that final playoff spot. This year, it's not as crowded of a field. And so, yeah, if they can maybe stumble into a playoff appearance, that would be great. But the Giants, I feel like they're in this kind of position where even if they don't make the playoffs, but you still see develop from the young guys, you could still call this season a success.
Absolutely. But while we're in the mix, let's enjoy it. I mean, right? I mean, Sam, don't you play the games to win? And it feels like seeing this team kind of get back some of that late game swag with the pinch hitting, the platooning, the late game magic, if you will, from 2021. That's been fun, at least as of recently.
It's fun when Bonte Hill's throwing papers in the air saying, I'm bought into this Giants team now. What a great way to end the show today.